we had a couple Q&As and that I'd been doing with the academy. And then I had bounced the idea off of you going, hey, what the heck do we do here to get this lead flow to slow down? So first thing we did was we created a page on our website, and it's going to tell you the projects that we do and we don't do and what the fee is to actually request a project consultation.
Hey, Brian, glad to have you here today.
Hey, Spencer, glad to be here, man.
Yeah, I'm excited because, one, you've been digging into marketing here for a little while, and it's really paid off. So we're going to get to that. But I guess before we get too deep in the weeds, just for our audience, maybe share a little bit about your background and your family business and kind of how that got going.
Yeah, so my dad started our company. It was back in '81. So we've been around a while, going on 40 years.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's been a while. And he was originally a framing contractor, and he's ended up getting into the custom home building side. It's been, I want to say he got in the early 90s is when he started building houses.
Okay.
And then from there, it just took off as far as the custom home side. We did the framing in house, or he did at that time. Then I started working with the company in 2000. It's when I graduated high school. Day after I got out of high school, I was working. So that's my, how I jumped in. I was doing concrete framing, that sort of thing. And now we got a team that we're based in San Diego, in Ramona, California specifically, and we've got a team, and that just does an awesome job for us. So
yeah, that's cool. Yeah, and so many, I feel like construction businesses are family oriented, and it happens that way. Like you said, you just finished up high school. It's like, all right, come into the business, like, let's get going. Yeah. So is that something that you kind of knew was going to happen, or how did that transition come about? Is that something you're like, yep, I want to get into building, or did it just kind of unfold that way, I guess?
Yeah, I didn't have a whole lot of desire to go out and go to college. I wanted to work, get out, and I enjoyed getting out and working with my hands and doing that type of work. So, I mean, it was, my dad had been, I've always been around it. I mean, we were remodeling, beating our houses down with hammers when we were 10 years old, so it was just a lot of fun. So yeah. We started framing is what I started doing initially, and really, really enjoyed it.
That's cool. Yeah. It's, I feel like it's either one of two paths, right? Like you grew up in it and you're like, yes, like I love this. Or you grew up and you're like, I got to get away from this. Like, I'm sick of doing this. So, but that's cool. So yeah, you've been in the business a little over 20 years now. So, as you guys have, built the team and, continue to grow and everything, how has your role evolved? Like, what are you working on kind of day to day, these days?
Yeah, today I just sales and marketing side. So that's all I do. So that whole process, we're just working on streamlining that and the lead flow, just making sure that the leads are coming in, just keeping the engine in the business at this point, so we can get steady workflow and keep people working.
Yeah, that's awesome. So let's talk about the marketing, I guess. I know you guys bumped into us, I don't know, gosh, when was that? Maybe a couple of years ago now, or you've been following our content for a while?
Yeah. So I want to say the first time we talked was back in 2018, maybe towards the middle or end of 2018.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I was looking. Yeah, go ahead.
No, sorry. I was looking for, we'd had ups and downs of the business. You get a lot of work coming in, and then not a lot of work. And then you'd hire people and people would go away. You'd have to let them go or they'd slow down. So we wanted to solve the problem of what the heck, let's get this consistency to the business, the lead flow. And that's when we started looking. And that's when I found you online. And then we started talking at that point.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I feel like in this business that happens so often, where it's very seasonal, or you're on this kind of roller coaster, like it all comes in at once and then you're so busy and then it's like nothing, kind of the feast or famine. So what have you guys been working on to kind of eliminate that? How have you built up your lead flow? Like, what were some of the first steps you started to take to solve that problem?
Yeah. So, I mean, big part of it is we just started creating content. So that was a huge part. We had a website in place, started improving that as we went. I mean, if I look back at it and I go, man, that was terrible. It looked terrible. Didn't work right. Nothing was working. But what we started to do is we started producing videos with our team. And we started this. I look back a little bit while back, and this is about, I want to say into 2008. We kind of dabbled in it middle of 2018. And then from there, we got consistent into 2018. So this is about a 2-year shift and seeing some major traction like in a year. But that was the biggest thing. The team got engaged, started shooting videos out on the job sites, and then actually creating content to answer the questions of people that are coming into our funnel and that want to talk to us about doing a project and what they're wanting to know. We started answering those questions.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. So let's talk about that a little bit because I know for
Yep.
a lot of people listening, they're going, okay, so you just started creating content. Like what does
Yeah.
that look like? So
Yep.
okay, you're shooting some video, you're answering questions like, are these blogs or what are the videos of? Like if somebody is sitting there maybe in your shoes, early 2018, like haven't really done this, what does that look like day to day, week to week? Like how do you know what content to create, that sort of thing?
Yeah. So the thing that I did was I went back and I said, okay, well, what am I getting asked by people? Because I was in the sales at that point as well.
Mm-hmm.
What are people calling and asking? And what are they wanting to know? At that point, I wrote down a bunch of ideas of the questions that they're asking, top ones that we did, and we started creating videos around that as for answering those questions. So I did that. And then the team would give a project update. And that's what they do every week. We get a project, we have a minimum of like one project update a week that happens on our projects that gets submitted from our team to us. And then we will put that, the marketing side will take that and then push it out via email every week. So
Nice.
we're getting, and then we also will take the piece, if we don't put the video out to our list that we have, all the people that we're sending out, we're using MailChimp as our platform that we use for our emails. We'll put that on it's a 5 or 10-minute video that I'll do. We'll strip the audio off that, put it on our we have a podcast for Freeman's Construction Inc. And then we put that out too, and then embed that on our website. So we have the podcast piece of it that sometimes goes out in video. It always goes up in video, but then we also send out the project update every week. So we alternate back and forth, but it's all based around a video a week.
I love that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
the team's out on site, they're shooting some video, is it just like they point and shoot and just give an update like here's what we're doing this week, here's what's going on, or do they just like shoot a bunch of clips throughout the week and then you edit it all together?
So what we've been doing, we're working on improving this right now, but it's been as simple as they turn their camera around, they're looking at the camera, say, hey, this is Brandon Freeman, Freeman's Construction, this is Bill Freeman, Freeman's Construction. And I wanted to tell you show you around a project that we're doing here and give you an update on what it is. I'm going to take you on a walkthrough, cut it out. And then they just turn the camera around and walk through the job site. So it's nothing
Easy.
fancy. It's
So
not like
easy. Yep.
oh yeah, it's nothing like we got some producer set up over here with a tripod. I mean, we could, but
Yeah.
it's
But you don't have to, right? Yeah.
no. Yeah.
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 Okay. So you
So
you have them on the site, they're shooting a quick video. It's maybe 2 or 3 minutes or whatever it is, 5 minutes, and then they send it, and then you take that and you multi-purpose use it. So you have the video and then you strip out the audio and upload that as a podcast. And then you said you also put that on the website.
yeah. So once we have that video, and I want to back up too. Once we get that I forgot to mention about how we built these lead magnets or with the content that we actually have been creating. So, and that's how it really started getting traction. But out on the job sites, when they create that video, or if I'm sitting in my office and I create the video, we take that and we'll go to rev.com. We'll have it transcribed. So we upload to YouTube first, and then we'll send that link to Rev transcribes it. We get the text of that back, so we embed that on our blog post on our website. but then we'll take and put at the very top of our blog post, we'll take this YouTube video, embed that, and then all that transcription is down below it. And then we'll structure that to where we got all of our H tags in the right order with the keywords that we want. And then we just break that. We go through, and a lot of times that won't come back perfect. So we have to edit out the copy and the text and make sure it reads properly, because even though it sounds okay when you're talking, it doesn't read right.
Yeah.
So, and then what we do, that's the basis. When we send out the email each week, that links back to our blog post. So we're pushing that out, and then that creates the traffic coming back to that blog, that page, which helps with the rank and brings a lot of traffic to our site. And we'll actually, and this is something I learned from you guys, we'll actually take a picture and embed that in the email with a play button on it. So it looks like a video, and that gets a lot more clicks than just the link going back to the website. So they'll actually click, there's a link above saying, hey, check this out, this information here, plus that, and then they can link back, either way to the website, they end up there.
I love it. Yeah. And so, yeah, you also mentioned something. I want to come back to this a little bit, but this is good. Cause this kind of helps show, I think what this is a good example of is one piece of content turns into all these different formats, right? So you just got guys on site shooting a video. That's the piece of content, but then it turns into video on YouTube. It turns into audio on the podcast. It turns into a blog with the embedded video. And then your email is literally just taking people to the information. So, you look at all those parts and you go, that's a lot of work. But when you really boil it down to it, like, you're not creating 6 different pieces of content. You're just kind of reformatting it and then driving people to it. Let's talk about how you started building this list, because obviously you're emailing, prospects, past customers, whoever's on that list. Like, how have you started to increase that list? Because I know that's a big part of, building that consistency in the funnel.
Yeah, so it almost started at the size of 0 as far as our list. So we weren't starting with much. Maybe we had a couple relatives on there, but because we hadn't been capturing that, and I think we put our past clients, which isn't a ton when you think about you're building custom homes. So what we did was, and these are some of my worst videos that I made, but they have relevant content or information that people are wanting. And we're actually getting ready to go back and redo all these, but so they look more professional. But we created so I created 7 videos. It was a custom home building cost guide that we did. So, and I learned this from watching what you had done with your remodeling cost guide that you'd had that back in 2018 when I'd seen that. And so I went through and said, okay, I'm going to talk to people and break this cost for building a custom home into 7 different pieces. So we started with plans and design, site costs, build cost. We actually showed them what are some actual costs of 5 real projects to the dollar of what we actually are spending for, what our contracts are written for. And then we'd have a section in there that actually goes through and tells them, okay, this is how you actually get to the bottom line number. You're going to have you got your design, you got your permits and fees, site costs, build costs, add all those things up, and then you're going to get to your bottom line. So each video was, I don't know, 5 to 10, it's 5 to 10 minutes long, somewhere in there, or even some of them are maybe even shorter. So we took that, we created a cover, put it on our website, and put it up towards above the fold on our website. So we shortened up the header, the hero section of the site, and pushed that up towards the top. So it was one of the most important things that we wanted them to convert into that on our site. And then we also tied that to MailChimp. So we had an auto responder series. So as soon as somebody would actually download that guide, they get hit with the first one. Hey, thanks for downloading. Here's your PDF, it was 10 pages long. It was comprehensive, and it gave them the information they wanted. And then from there, they would get 7 days, they would get a video on each section that goes into more depth than what they actually got in that cost guide. So that was huge. That's the one that we've had download more than any of them. But what we did too that made a big difference was we actually made a video on and put that on the landing page. So I shot a video, said, hey, this is what you are going to get, and this is what you're not going to get. And this is, we're not going to spam you. We're going to give you relevant content. This is relevant information to what you're wanting. And then that really increased the conversion rates, because originally we just had a picture on the page. We didn't have the video. So once we did those, it was huge as far as the difference. But then we went in after that and we created, you want me to keep going?
Keep rolling. I have like 6 questions, but you're on a roll. So keep going and we'll come back and dig in.
So we did this with ADUs as well, accessory dwelling units as well. And we didn't, and I'm actually getting ready. I haven't even shot the video series.
So you're saying you did like a cost report or cost series on how much does it cost to build an ADU? Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. Yeah. And so what we did, I mean, we took the format that we had, the custom home building cost guide, copied it, changed everything that needed to be changed inside of that. And the hard work was on the first one. Second one was easier. I still haven't created the video series for that. We're going to do that here probably in the next month or so, but that thing converts really well too. I mean, that's one of the hottest tickets that you can sell right now, is an accessory dwelling unit. But, and then we did it with floor plans. So we combined all of our popular floor plans that we have, put all those in there for ADUs and for custom homes. And then we have a remodeling guide as well. And so there's 5 of them that we have that are touching the different people that were, different customers that will be coming to us. And that's the biggest thing that's driven that list and growing that list. And and every time they download it, we capture that information again, and the list gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
I love it. Yeah. So where'd you learn how to do all this?
Yeah, funny. So I mean, so back in 18, when I started talking to you, then I started learning, right? And I was following what you guys are doing. And then I think it was it might've been this month, last year, that we joined Builder Funnel Academy, and that obviously you are the head of, and we started implementing this. So the first thing we did was we went through and modified different things on our site that we did changed a lot of our H tags, and there was a number of different modifications that we did, but and then I was able to train the team internally with that. So they were able to go through and look at all that and go through all the information in the academy without me having to be very involved in it. And then I could just answer the questions that they had in relation to some of the things that came up in the academy. And I've also, before I forget, your book, I'm about halfway through your book right now, and I'm looking back, looking back at what we cost us $5,000-$10,000 or whatever it was back in 2018. I'm going, man, if I would have seen that then, that would have saved me that much money. So, I mean, that's just in the first few pages
for $16. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's some valuable information in that was huge, but and then the academy, I mean, we get those Q&As, the monthly Q&As that we'd have, where you'd be in, or, Steve would be in, or some of your top level team members that you got. That's where we're getting a lot of our information, and we're able to bounce that information off of some really sharp people that you have that are in the academy that are in other companies all around the country. So has been huge.
Yeah. And I asked that a little bit jokingly, like, I know you've been in the academy and you've been learning this, but for everybody listening, like, all the stuff that we create, like, we share a lot of this, probably 95% of it just on our podcast and our YouTube. And like you said, you found us and you just started watching kind of what we were doing and what we were talking about and doing it for yourself. And then you start to build that. And the academy has probably helped systematize a little bit more and take it to the next level. But I mean, yeah, you're doing this style of marketing, which is education marketing. And I think that's what a lot of people have not like taken that leap of faith into, is just like, hey, I'm going to talk about cost, and I'm going to get, like, I love that you give exact pricing on those projects. I think a lot of people are afraid to do that because they feel like they'll be tied down to a number, or maybe they'll scare prospects away. And it's like, well, if your prospects don't want to pay those prices, like, you probably don't want them anyway, so there's, it's a little bit counterintuitive. But let's talk about like volume of leads and those downloads? Because you said you kind of started with a list of 0, and then you implemented like the custom home cost report and PDF and video series, and then you did the ADUs. But like, how many form submissions or leads have come in through these little funnels, since you started those?
Yeah, so those cost guides they went into effect actually last year is when we did those cost guides. So those were or I'm going to say middle to end of June of last year
Okay.
is when they went in. Those in between then and the end of the year, we had close to 1,200 downloads that were on those cost guides.
It's amazing. Yeah.
So with a combination of the floor plans, so it wasn't all cost guides, but the floor plans, the popular floor plans bunched together, we have 23 together. That seems to do very well. That seems
That's
to
awesome.
individual
Yeah.
floor plans don't do as good, but the more do. So
And it's funny because you can take floor plans, like if you've got 20 and they're all just available for free on your site, but then you roll them up into a PDF and somebody can just like download them at once. Like people will give up their name and email for that because it's just convenient. So you don't even have to, overthink it. But sorry, go ahead. You were
Oh no,
there.
it's so this year we looked at, so we converted through the academy, we converted everything over to HubSpot to the CRM. So, and that happened in the middle of January this year. So we had to go back and we were manually tracking a lot of this last year and then into January. So when we just went back, one of our team members went back and looked at that and to see exactly the numbers. So to date right now, we're like, first part of April, we've had 645 downloads on those same guides since January of this year. So there's about 50 a week or so, 45, 50 a week that we're capturing, that way.
So, so let's talk about that for a second, because I think, if somebody hears that, they're going, okay, you're a custom builder. You're probably not doing, 50 projects a year, but you're getting 50 leads a week. That seems overwhelming. What have you done to kind of temper the lead flow, or, how has that impacted you? Because I think a lot of people say, well, I don't want that many leads. Like that's a distraction.
Yeah, I mean, this became a problem. So, and this is where the academy is, and you were instrumental in helping us get here. So if we kind of go back to the beginning or end of last year, we're talking September, or the last 3 months of last year, I had over 150 people that had requested a consultation. These are not just downloads. These are actual requests for consultation to talk to them about a project. And we could call them back. I hadn't called back 150 of them. We'd called back some of them, but that's where we were sitting at the end of December. So we were overwhelmed. We had people getting upset with us, which is not what we like. I mean, we're all about taking care of everybody that we're working for and getting back to people very promptly. So we had a problem. So what we did was, when we had a couple Q&As and that I'd been doing with the academy. And then I had bounced the idea off of you going, hey, what the heck do we do here to get this lead flow to slow down? So first thing we did was we created a page on our website I shot a video that said, hey, request a consultation, but make sure, first of all, you look down, you read everything down below this section. And it's going to tell you the projects that we do and we don't do, and what the fee is to actually request a project consultation. So we initially set that at $100 a mark, to where we just wanted to get the tire kickers out of the way, to where they weren't wasting our time just wanting a free bid. And then what we did was we ended up actually upping this to $400 for a 1 hour consultation. So initially when we had the $100 mark on there, we were getting still 10 requests for consultation a week, and it didn't hardly stop the flow.
Didn't slow it down much.
It didn't slow it down much. So when we did the 400, we're now getting between 2 to 3, sometimes 4 a week. We don't book them all because we don't let them actually book on or pay for it online, because we want to make sure that we qualify them before we book the appointment. But once we call them back, our team member in the office calls them back, and my dad or myself do not even talk to talk to the lead until the appointment is booked, and then we have the 1 hour consultation, and that's what the $400 covers. So that's either on site, Zoom, or it could be phone, depending on what they would prefer. But that's been huge. It's the work we were already doing, we're now getting paid for, but we're doing less work because we don't have to weed through the people that are not serious about moving forward. So the lead quality is there. So there are people that actually want to get something done.
I
And
love it. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like this is another one of those super counterintuitive things, because especially using the power of the internet, like if you start ranking for keywords like custom home builder Ramona, right? Like the person that has a $50 budget and a $500,000 budget, they're typing in the same keyword, right? Like that's how you find a custom builder. So if you're doing a good job online, you kind of get more of everybody, right? You get more of the tire kickers, you get more of the bad leads, but then you also get more of the great leads because they're all typing in the same thing. So you were starting to experience that, where you're just getting tons and tons of people downloading these guides and everything, and then they're getting your video series, and then a bunch of them are flowing into the consultation. But exactly what you did, you just, okay, well, this isn't working. How do I ratchet up some things here and tighten this up? And you have the page where you explain everything, and they've got to read it. And then even just putting that $400, now less people want to take that step. And it's like, great, if you don't even want to pay $400, like you probably aren't that serious. And so they go away. So I love that whole flow, because the step one is ramp up leads. Step two is ratchet back, the criteria. And I think I talked to so many people where they're just like, I don't want a ton of leads. I just want better leads. And it's kind of like, well, the way you get to better is quantity first, and then pre-qualify through automation or pages on your website and putting barriers in place. And then everybody else will just kind of flow through the system, and they'll get some educational content and they'll leave. They've still left in a better spot, because they're still getting your video series where they're learning all about it. So yeah, I love that whole system. So, but let's dive into a couple areas. So one is the nurturing campaign. So you said you got them downloading the cost guide for let's do the custom home example. And they get this video series of, I think you said it was a video every day via email for a week, 7 days or something. Do you have in there links to the consultation, or are those purely just like, here's this video, hope it helps? Or like, is there a call to action in any of those videos? How is that structured?
Yeah, we have a request, or a spot they can request a consultation inside that video down in the footer. It probably could be more prominent. I mean, it's something I need to go back and look at, to be honest with you. We set that thing up middle of last year, so I need to go back and look at that and see what we're actually doing. But there absolutely is something there, but it's probably not as prominent as it needed to be.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Yeah.
And so I think, like there's a lot of buzz around like click funnels and different things. And you see that for like small dollar projects, but obviously in our industry, like thinking about this funnel, it's got to be bigger. It moves a little slower, and you have different layers to it. So you've got hey, come to my website, download this thing. Now you're going to get these video series. Then you click to book a consultation. It goes to a page. You have to read the page. Now you have to, I'm going to commit to $400. Now I'll fill out a form. And so you've got all these layers, but then what it ends up looking like is you're booking, I don't know, what is that as a revenue stream now? If, you're booking 3 or 4 of these a week, or 2 or 3 a week, it's got to be pretty good.
Yeah, I think we figured it'd be minimum about 40 grand a year. So that we weren't getting before, plus it's saving the time. So
yeah, win-win.
yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
So what else, are you guys doing for marketing, or is this kind of the system? Like you've got the conversion funnels and you're creating the videos. Like, are you guys working on some other things, or is this the primary driver of everything?
Well, one thing that supports the paid consultations that we did was at the beginning of the year, this year, we're going, how can we get people to give them the value to give them everything that they would have answer all their questions. So then they're willing to pay us $400 for our time. So we took all of our cost guide information. We went through all of our blog posts, all the questions that we had answered with all of this content that we had, and then repurposed it just like we're doing in the marketing. And we took that and we put that and broke it into chunks and put it all in a very comprehensive FAQ section on the website. So then in HubSpot, we built all these email templates out and then have our FAQs in there with all of our cost guides, everything in there. So the responses are very efficient getting back to different clients or different leads that come in. But this FAQ supports all of that, or allows them to pay, be willing to pay for that consultation. Plus it allows anybody in our office to go back and have an answer for anything when somebody calls in. So without us having to actually get involved. So it's been a major time saver as far as that goes, but it took 2.5 weeks of just focus to get that thing done. Cause it was like, it'd take everything in your brain and put it all into one spot and then edit it and get it all tightened up. So
I love that. Yeah.
That was big, big piece of getting that consultation process put in place.
Yeah. And I would imagine, that has been a huge time saver. And then leading into, I'm kind of curious now that you've been doing this process. I know it started middle of last year, we're coming up on close to a year. Have you noticed any clients that have come through the system? They, paid, maybe it was $100 or $400, and then they've actually closed and you've started working with them. Do you feel like they're better clients or they're more educated because they've seen all this material, or hasn't really made a difference? Can't really tell.
Oh, major difference. I mean, it's like you're their buddy. When they feel like they know you already when you talk to them the first time when they call you, because they've been watching you on video for however long, and you built the trust with them. So the sales process is almost immediate. It's like they call you and say, "Hey, I want to get a design agreement going."
That's awesome.
I mean, that's what's really noticeable.
Yeah. So it's shortened the sales cycle a little bit, or just made an easier process.
Yeah. They're chasing you instead of you chasing them. So it's not the other way. You don't have to be it's not that cold call, sleazy salesman feel. They're wanting to work with you. So that's the biggest thing that we've got from that. Yeah.